Forget any landing pages, forget the homepage, focus on the product page, because good changes that you make there in terms of experimenting or any changes that you may make can have a really, really, really big impact.
Hi everybody, this is Khalil Galivala at Experimentation. We've got an amazing podcast today with Eric Melchor at Optimonk. He's also a podcaster in the Innovators Can Laugh podcast, coming straight from Romania. Eric, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, this is Eric Melchor here. I'm the personalization geek at Optimonk. And that's right. I'm a Texan living in Romania. I'm a mediocre tennis player, but I do play tennis with Roger Federer. That's right. I go to YouTube and I look up Roger Federer highlights and pretend that I'm playing against him, by swinging the racket. So that's one of my hobbies that I enjoy. And I did a big career change a couple of years ago, going from corporate America and the retail energy space into the SaaS and startup space a little over 2 years ago. So that's been pretty exciting. But really, back to Optimonk, we are personalization and CRO platform.
Brilliant. So Eric, maybe you can tell us, what are you focusing right now at Optimonk?
Yeah. So right now, we're focused as an evangelist. We're really focused on sharing with agencies, integration tech partners, and then also e-commerce brands what they can do with CRO, conversion optimization, and personalization. So when most people think of CRO, they think of the pop-ups that appear, different tactics that you can utilize to try to get somebody's email address, make the quick sale. We're saying take a step back. Treat your visitors like people. Don't treat them like traffic. I mean, Khalil, you wouldn't walk into H&M and all of a sudden start hearing from, one of the employees there, somebody asking you, hey, give me your SMS phone number and I'll give you a coupon. It just doesn't work like that in the real world. And so why are we doing that in online and on the online space? And so we're trying to give brands the opportunity to create a really delightful and enjoyable customer experience in real time on their website. And why do we feel like this is important? It's because if you go back in memory lane, think about your first crush that you had. Maybe it was junior high, maybe it was high school. And when you thought about this person, they were captivating. They were all you thought about. Whatever your parents were telling you, your teachers, it went through one ear and out the other because your thoughts were consumed by this other person. Well, over time, the interest starts to fade in that other person because we're human. That's just natural, right? So when a person has the highest interest in your brand or service is when they first discover you, when they first click on the ad. Maybe it was a Facebook ad. Maybe it was an affiliate link. Maybe it was a blog post, right? In the next 10 minutes, it's crucial. That's when they're really, really interested in you. But most marketers have been designed to think personalization really applies to email marketing or SMS. So they start focusing on those channels when it's already a little bit too late because the interest has already significantly faded ever since they first discover you. I mean, just within the first hour, an interest in a brand really goes down. So we're saying, hey, we're missing out on a big opportunity here. You can really capitalize, increase your conversions, reduce cart abandons, grow your email subscriber list when you think about applying really smart conversion optimization tactics and personalization for your website.
And again, I think what you're getting the core to is the fact that we're getting led so much by the channel, forgetting the human element to this, right? When I think of sort of the human element, it's also about these these memorable journeys. How do you build these journeys that someone the fact that they're forgetting about your brand exponentially? How do you make it so that they remember and recall you later on?
Yeah. So again, it's really about the real-time experience. If we look at, let's say, like a brand like Avi, this is a brand that was bootstrapped for $10,000. And in 3 years, they went to about $3 million in ARR, annual revenue. And when you watch videos of the founder, Ronak Shah, he says one of the reasons that they were able to be successful is because they had a heavy emphasis on conversion rate optimization. And they were able to scale efficiently with Facebook ads, which is really quite uncommon in the past couple of years because of iOS 14. The average cost per click for Facebook has skyrocketed. So not many people are able to scale with Facebook ads, but they were. And one of the tactics they did is because their main product, which is a protein shake, has many different value propositions. One of the propositions is, grow healthy hair fast. And so their Facebook ad may say, are you balding? Do you want to grow healthy hair fast? And when somebody clicks on that ad, they get to a landing page and the headline is very aligned, very similar to the ad they clicked on. But they
Okay.
have other value propositions like the best tasting collagen protein. And so when somebody clicks on that ad, they go to the same landing page, but the headline is tied to the ad they click on. Okay.
Okay.
And they do this with all their value propositions by not creating duplicate or multiple landing pages. It's just one landing page, but they're able to use this feature in the platform through dynamic content and UTM parameters. So that's just like one example of a successful brand that is really trying to personalize the
Mm.
experience from the time the ad was clicked to the time that they're on the website, and then also finishing up with email marketing with advanced segmentation.
This is Romo Santiago from Experiment Nation. Every week, we share interviews with and conference sessions by our favorite conversion rate optimizers from around the world. So if you like this video, smash that like button and consider subscribing. It helps us a bunch. Now back to the episode.
I think you brought up a really good point about personalization, right? The idea is, from start to end, the content must make sense. But in terms of technology, we don't want to have 15 pages to manage. You want to have maybe one page with dynamic content. So when it comes to different types of segmentation, is there a process you work through to understand sort of what those different value propositions are, maybe how to prioritize them?
Yeah. So one of the things that we recommend is we actually have a sort of like a checklist, and we give this to anybody who's interested in it. And because every brand is different, Khalil, conversion rate optimization is not the same for every brand. So in this checklist, you may have questions like, is more than 20% of your traffic international? If so, there's an opportunity to create a personalized welcome for your international visitors, right? You can have somebody, if you go to Woodhouse Clothing, they're a US based retailer. And if I go to their website, I'm here in Romania, I get a nice little message when I go to their website. It says, "Hi, welcome. We ship to Romania. All the prices include taxes. You can shop in your own currency. And if you spend more than 500 lei, which is the local currency, shipping is free." That is a really nice personalized experience because it establishes trust in the brand, and it lets me know right away I'm not going to be wasting my time not knowing whether or not they deliver to my location. Right.
Hmm.
So again, that's one question. You go through this checklist. Another question could be, what's your abandoned cart rate? Because if it's higher than 68%, then we have some tactics that you can do to try to reduce that. Another question could be, are you growing both an email and an SMS list? Okay, here's some tactics that you can do to get both, increase the subscription rates for both your email and SMS list. So it's every brand is unique, every website is unique. We go through this checklist. It's about 30 questions more or less. You can knock it out within half an hour. You may have to go into Google Analytics and do a little bit digging around, but it helps you be smart. It
Yeah.
helps you be a smarter marketer, and it helps make your e-commerce or just your site in general just become smarter. And so what are the low-hanging fruits that you should tackle first, based on priority. And we actually score each of these each of these different opportunities or issues, and the score is based on the expected reach, the implementation time, and the amount of effort. And so right away, like, hey, what are the top 5 tactics I should focus on once you finish this checklist? So we don't want to waste anybody's time. It's like Google Analytics. Just because you have it and you turn it on, you're not really benefiting from it unless you
Hmm.
go in there and do some digging around and creating some specific reports. Same thing with a platform like OptiMonk. Unless you know what to look for, it's probably not the best fit for you. But I will say it's designed for marketers. No coding background necessary. Drag and drop interface. I don't even know HTML and I can do it. So it's really simple to use.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think that's what we experience as marketers. Sometimes, you go into places and it's kind of like doing a checkup of your car. You can go to your car and say, "Hey, I think my tires sound good, my brakes sound good." But there's another element when you say, "Hey, can someone take a look at my entire car and tell me what I need to fix, from A to B to C and what needs to be prioritized?" And it seems like you've got a model or some kind of like, a way to kind of help someone take their car, which is their website, their entire marketing campaign, analyze it quickly within an hour and again help them prioritize so they're not suddenly stretched across all these different dimensions. And I'm curious to know, at the same time, are there certain, let's call them bugs, let's call them issues that people like? Are there something that's so recurrent? Is it, like I'm always interested to know, given that you're working first time with clients, are there any issues that keep popping up that surprise you? That kind of you say, hey, I'm wondering why everyone's dealing with the same issue.
Yeah. So one of the things, it's not really an issue, but a lot of people like to start with the homepage to start
Yeah.
optimizing or A/B testing experiments. And this is really interesting because one of our partners, a couple of our partners, one is Khalid Saleh, and he's the founder of Invest. It's a CRO agency based out of Chicago. And another person, a CRO expert by the name of Richie Rawat. He calls himself the product page guy.
Okay.
When we spoke with them, because we partner with them, they both told me that when they think about CRO, they first start with the product page.
Interesting.
Forget any landing pages, forget the homepage, focus on the product page, because good changes that you make there in terms of experimenting or any changes that you may make can have a really, really, really big impact. And so it's not really an issue that I see across brands. I wouldn't call it an issue, but
Mm,
it's more that one of those insights from experts that, hey, if you're thinking about CRO, sure, the fun stuff is like in the welcome pop-ups,
mm.
creating conversational pop-ups, abandoned cart, ideas to reduce abandoned carts or increase average order value. But a lot of people skip optimizing the product page. And that's where you're probably going to have the biggest return on investment.
Okay, and I think that makes absolute sense. I know when you speak, I understand, sort of I think the sort of the channels we've all kind of gone through of optimizing our homepage or landing page, which are important. But you're saying is actually your product page is actually where the person adds the item to cart and checks it out,
Yeah.
right? That's that is the last mile of that journey. Any insights over there pay off.
Yeah. And the way Richie Rawat put it was that, listen, at any time out of 100 people that come to your site, 3% are ready to buy,
Mm,
but there's about 17% that are on the fence.
okay.
80% are not going to buy. They're just not. But there's 17% that are on the fence. Let's figure out how do we get those 17%. And so there's different things that you can do, like on the product page, A/B test different testimonials on the
Mm,
product page, A/B test adding different descriptions. If you know that people are landing on the page from specific type of campaigns, then you could cater to those campaigns. For example, BlendJet is a really successful e-commerce brand launched in 2018. They appeal to all kinds of people who like to go to the gym, also working moms, right? And so if you know that you're doing ads for people who go to the gym and they clicked on that specific ad, then you can actually have a personalized experience on the product page where the copy is really aligned around people who go to the gym. But if you have also ads that are designed for working moms, then you can have copy on the product page that is really designed around for working moms. So
mm,
that is something that I recently learned. And again, it's listening to other experts who are, experts in CRO in this field. That's one of the things that I really learned is when we work with other CRO experts, every expert brings something different to the table. Some are really good with the product page. Others are really good when it comes to let's get the biggest return off of our media spend, like the folks at Avi. Um, and then other people are also just really good, like when it comes to like the copywriting and the branding, when
mm.
somebody gets to like the homepage, the imagery, things like that. Everybody has a different skill set. And the
Yeah.
more that you work with and the more that you come across with, the more that you appreciate that, okay, yeah, CRO, one expert can be completely different than the other one. But if you go back to the foundations and go to the checklist, because that's where you can get a good basic understanding of things that you should focus on. If you're
Mm,
getting more than 20% of your traffic from international, then you should probably do something for those visitors.
mm.
If you've got high abandoned cart rate, you should do something to try to reduce that. If you're trying to collect both SMS and emails, here's the best tactics that work. So I would recommend go through that checklist. There's also
Mm,
a tactical library we just wrote out. It's optimonk.com/tactical library. And you can actually by filter depending on what your goal is. Maybe your goal is to increase email subscribers or maybe to increase your average order value. You click on the filter, and then we'll show you the various tactics that you can do when it comes to CRO or personalization. So that's a really neat feature. It's becoming very popular. Highly recommend that to anybody who's more curious and wants to learn more.
Brilliant. I think that's it. Like right now we're living in an age of, again, the age of Chat GPT. There's information everywhere. I think right now it's a question of how do you prioritize? What do you focus on? So I think that what sounds amazing is that you're focused on giving people tools to help them prioritize, help them understand what they should put their energy, what they should put their focus on for those immediate wins.
Yeah, we're starting to invest a little bit more in AI. We just rolled out an AI smart headline generator. And so if you want to A/B test like different headlines on your website and you can't really come up with any on your own, you can just use our generator, and it'll recommend like 5 or 6 headlines that you can A/B test, which is pretty cool. It kind of like
Yeah.
it does the thinking for you in that aspect.
What I think I'm very curious to understand a bit more about is sort of, is given that you're working with clients, right? One thing we notice that people ask is, as CROs, they're also working as consultants, right? Working with different teams, different sort of internal stakeholders. Any, like what have you found as the biggest challenges working with clients in terms of getting that buy-in or helping them maybe even translate these very complex ideas as CRO to internal staff? Like what's that process been like for you?
Yeah, so I deliver a free CRO workshop every couple of weeks, and it's
Okay.
free for anybody who wants to attend. You attend, you get that checklist, and I run through about 20 different examples of CRO. And what I see, uh, I mean, there's really the biggest question is it going to reduce my web page speed, my website speed? And the answer is no. It's just not, because yeah, sure, there are things that you can do that could reduce it, but we adhere to Shopify's guidelines onto the minimum speed requirements that they ask for different vendors or apps in their ecosystem. We adhere to them all. So that's the biggest question that we get is this going to reduce my page load speed
Mm.
with dynamic content or testing different images? The answer is no. Obviously, there's things that you can do, like how you save the file size, things like that that help. But for the most part, the platform is very fast, and it's not going to impact that in a negative way at all.
Okay, nice. I think we talked about here. We talked almost about the present. We talked about AI again. You've got this, this subject line, generate helping people. Any sense of maybe where the future of experimentation is the future of CRO, and maybe future at this point is just 6 months ahead.
Well, I was listening to this interesting podcast, and it was something like, "Will Google AI kill Google?" or something like that. And it was saying that sites that rely on information, like they have a lot of informational pages, and they rely on links, people clicking on those links to find out more information and go to their website. Well, Google AI, what's going to happen is they're going to show that information right there on the search results. And so there's going to be a big drop in traffic going to sites that are really information heavy. And I thought that made sense to me, because I definitely see that. I definitely see that being realistic, something that could happen. But personalization, we work with some interesting partners. One of them is Penny Black, and they've got a way where if you're delivering like a product or a service, they personalize the unboxing experience. And so depending on who your segment is, you can get an insert that's personalized, like with your name and just specific information that's really catered to you. So that's a new brand that I think's out there. We're excited to work with them and partner with them. And then I think the video is huge. So shoppable videos. I think the younger generation is already used to it. I see people that are in their early 20s, and they've already gotten accustomed to it. So they're not even. I guess they would consider a website that doesn't have like videos where somebody's demonstrating the product. I guess they would consider those like outdated. It's very like TikTok style. And so Vid, I can't remember the name of the company, but they are based out of Romania too, just in a different city. But they're doing some exciting things around shoppable videos. So, what we try to do is, hey, what do our clients need? Obviously, we can't handle everything when it comes to the customer journey, but we try to work with partners that could fulfill those needs that are missing, or they need to in order to compete in the marketplace with other vendors.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I think as you mentioned as well that as you're working with different CRO experts, you kind of see all the different strengths everybody has. Some be good at content, some be good at products, some be good at analytics. And the idea is how do you be a part of the ecosystem, benefiting from all the experts around you while putting the client at the center. I think that's sort of a very interesting way to kind of to tackle it.
Yeah, and I think most CRO experts would say that zero party data is the way to go. And that's where you just immediately ask a question. I'm starting to see B2B companies do this, where somebody goes to their website and they've got a little pop up message that just says, "We want you to get the most out of this visit. Can you tell us what industry you work in?" And then based on your selection, they can recommend what content for you to go, or basically take you to the part of the website that's probably most valuable to them. And this is like holding their hand and saying,
Mm,
you don't need to waste your time just clicking around. Tell us who you are, and we're going to take you to the part of the website that probably makes most sense for you. And we're going to just see this more and more, I think. And the great thing about zero party data is that as you engage with these people, you can tag them, put them into
mm,
segmentation, and so now you know how to better communicate with them as well. And so that's, I always get excited when we see brands and our clients that are
mm,
going that route and trying to get interest party data and do things like conversational pop-ups to
mm,
welcome visitors. Even something as simple like, if you're an e-commerce site and you get a lot of traffic during seasonality, maybe for Mother's Day,
mm,
and there's a lot of people who are coming to your site to buy a gift. Even something as simple like, are you shopping for somebody else or for you?
mm,
Give them a choice. And if they say for somebody else, fantastic. Here's the latest trends that we have to offer. Here's the best, selling products in May, right?
mm,
That's very helpful. And I think brands who understand that are really going to succeed and outcompete a lot of the other brands. I think of Amazon, and Amazon is where they at because they didn't focus on email marketing.
mm,
We don't shop from Amazon because we get good SMS messages. They made it very easy in real time with the one click purchase, being able to read reviews of the product on the website. They were the first to do that. Seeing product recommendations, which accounts for about 34% of their sales, right? So they really focus on the website
mm.
experience. And that's what we're trying to do is give SMBs those same tools, those same capabilities to do the same.
Yeah. It's interesting because you're talking about, I mean, the focus has been on personalization, and that depends on data. And something that I've encountered talking to other CR experts is the fact that there's sometimes this sort of hesitancy for companies to kind of get on board with personalization because they think about data privacy, stuff, and those kind of issues. How have you tackled them in the past? How have you kind of helped people walk them to understand where the data is actually beneficial to their marketing efforts?
Yeah, well, two things. I mean, first, we remember you through the browser. It's mostly browser database. And so if you're using a browser like Safari, then that's not really good for us because we're only going to remember you for about maybe 7 days. If you're using Chrome, it's much better. The browser can, remember you up to about a year on average, right? But in regards to the other data, as long as you're adhering to GDP requirements or any other requirements out there in relation to data, there's no reason that you shouldn't try getting zero party data. It's yours. The person engaged with you. The person made a choice, and there's nothing that's wrong with that. I love doing that. I love doing like different surveys and games. There's a great website called wink.com, I believe, and they've got subscriptions for different wines. And they have this really funny questions when you go through their survey, and it's like, okay, somebody mixed the Skittles and the peanuts. Which ones do you take out? And what's your favorite food do you like? Is it Mexican food? Is it seafood? Is it Japanese food? And it's just so engaging. And I think the email subscription rates to that are something astronomical, like 60 or 70%,
Mm.
because it's engaging. And that's what zero party data is if you do it the right way.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Like the idea is that, as you said, it's not just about like anyone can turn Google Analytics on, but it's looking for this insights, finding a way that kind of captivates people, looks for insight, and gives them value. I think that's sort of being a core of what you're talking about over here. One question I love asking CRO experts is sort of whether they've applied any techniques to their own lives, their own personal lives. Either getting healthier, getting smarter, just living better lives. Anything you've ever done to use experimentation on yourself?
Oh God, I've probably been doing this for years, even before I jumped into the role at OptiMonk. One of the things that I recently started though is I read about this doctor who's 60 years old, but he feels like he's 42, and he has this shake that he drinks every day, and there's ginger in it, and there's green jalapeno, and there's a few other things. But I thought that was really interesting, and apparently, those are natural foods that help with the digestion.
Yeah.
And so I'm experimenting with that shake. I've got my protein powder, my blueberries, spinach, and I cut the ginger and I cut the green jalapeno and add some vanilla and almond milk and mix it in. And it's pretty good. It's a little spicy.
Sounds
Sometimes I put
delicious.
too much pepper, but it's pretty good. If it helps me stay young, feel
Yeah.
younger, then I'm going to continue doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and for samsak as well, it's not it sounds tasty. In fact, you've got ginger, you got spinach, you got good. It's not this. It doesn't sound like a smoothie that you want to hold your nose for
Oh
as
no,
you
not at
drink it.
all. Not at
Yeah,
all. And I most of the time I put blueberries, but sometimes I'll throw in a banana or strawberries. And it's quite good, especially if you use like chocolate almond milk or vanilla almond milk. It's
yeah.
it's quite delicious. Yeah. What about
Thank you,
you? What
Eric.
about you, Khalil? How are you CRO optimizing your life over there?
Oh, different stuff. I think part of it is just like I mentioned in previous podcasts. Like I'm actually a very introverted person. I grew up with a speech impediment. And so essentially, I kind of sat down and kind of said, okay, like, what do I need to do to kind of get better at speaking? What do I need to do to get out of my comfort zone? It's why I'm actually doing the podcast. One of the reasons is just how do I get to a point to, live like, not just market products, but in some sense also create a market for yourself. I think that's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
And
no, totally agree with that. I was never been into the personal branding concept, but I landed this role at OptiMonk without having to submit a resume, without having to interview, simply
mhm,
because of a podcast I started about 2 years ago called Innovators Can Laugh, where I interview European startup founders. And it just so happened Shaba Jado, who's the founder of OptiMonk, he was a guest on my podcast, and we had a great time. We stayed in touch, and then a few months later, he started pitching me OptiMonk, sharing his vision
okay.
with me where he wants to take the company. And we discussed like what my role would entail, what could it look like. And so this has really worked out for me in terms of getting out there, trying to be
Mhm,
consistent. And I'm all I'm doing is interviewing startup founders. A lot of people who are more fascinating and interesting than me. But the
mhm,
fact that I share this on LinkedIn, people have gotten to know me
nice.
through that medium, and it's worked out really well. The other benefit too is whenever I go to different cities, I know people who are in
Yep,
those cities. I was in Sofia last week and I got to hang out with like four people I had interviewed and, hang out
nice.
with them, have some cocktails, go to dinner. It's just great. I went to Paris and I hung out with somebody I interviewed and he showed me like some restaurants that you could tell only the local Parisians go there, no
Okay.
tourists go there. And he was able to order for me. And it, that in itself, it's not about really the money or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's just the
Feeling.
relationships I've been able to grow through this platform, through podcasting.
What I love it digging a little more is you talk about personal branding, and that's something where a lot of CRO experts, I think they're amazing at their jobs, but they also try and find ways to kind of stand out from the crowd. So you mentioned the fact that you've got this podcast you created that gives opportunities to create really authentic and rich relationships with people. Anything you suggest that CRO experts who can maybe do a little more of when it comes to maybe getting their brand out there or being noticed by other people?
Well, I think one of the things that I've noticed is even if you don't do a podcast, you could do quick 2 or 3 minute interviews with other experts, and it doesn't have to be a CRO, but maybe something that's uh, a fit, that there's an affinity or affiliated with CRO.
Okay.
And those attract a lot of attention because if you share that on social media, like on LinkedIn, and you tag the other person, now you're reaching an audience that you would have never reached otherwise, because people are interested in that person, and as a result they're interested in find out who you are. And so I think that's another good avenue that you can do, even if they're just like quick 2 3 minute interviews. One question: want to get
Okay.
your thoughts on this particular question, let the other person talk, and
Mhm.
then you can just kind of edit that. And I think that's something that I'm starting to see with people going to events, and that's how they're able to connect with a lot of people, is through these little quick
Episodes.
1 2 3 minute interviews. So I think that's something I would do if somebody's trying to get more awareness for their personal brand.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Eric. Before we let you go, I want to talk in terms of anybody who wants to follow you. I know you've talked about your podcast, you've talked about the CRO workshops you do, which have the questionnaire. Like, if someone wants to kind of learn more about you or follow what you're doing at Optimonk, what are the different ways they can reach out to you or find out?
Yeah, so LinkedIn would be the best one. Eric Melchor on LinkedIn. And then the next one would be that's the main one. You can go to optimonk.com/bootcamp. And it's a page about the workshop that I give every couple of weeks, and you can register there. It's a free workshop. You get that free CRO checklist by attending. And so those are the main two things: OptiMonk bootcamp /bootcamp, and then of course on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. Thank you so much for your insights, and wish you the best.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Khalil.